In every workplace, in every social circle, in every room where decisions get made, there's a rule everyone knows. If you want to be taken seriously, work hard and prove yourself. Show up. Contribute. Demonstrate your value over time. Earn respect through consistency, dedication, competence. That's what we are told. That's what he believed. Until the day everything changed without him changing anything at all. One moment, people dismissed him, talked over him, treated his ideas like background noise. The next, they listened, deferred to him, treated the exact same ideas like they were worth considering. Nothing about his work had changed. Nothing about his competence had shifted. But suddenly, he was being taken seriously. And that's when he learned the rule nobody tells you. Respect isn't earned through merit alone. It's granted through perception. And perception changes the moment you stop needing it to. From the beginning, we are taught the visible rules of earning respect. Work harder than everyone else. Be the first one in, the last one out. Speak up in meetings. Share your ideas. Make your presence known. Build your expertise. Get credentials. Prove you know what you're talking about. Be helpful. Be collaborative. Show you're a team player. The entire professional development industry is built on this premise. If you demonstrate value, people will value you. He followed every rule. Stayed late to finish projects. Volunteered for extra work. Made sure his contributions were visible. In meetings, he shared ideas. Good ideas. Ideas that later got implemented. But when he said them, silence. A few polite nods. Then someone else would say the same thing 5 minutes later and everyone would light up. That's brilliant. Why didn't we think of that? They did think of that. He thought of it. They just didn't hear it when it came from him. He built expertise. Studied. Became genuinely knowledgeable in his field. But when he spoke, people would wait for someone more senior to confirm what he said before they'd believe it. He tried being more assertive. Speaking with more confidence. Using stronger language. It made things worse. Now he wasn't just ignored. He was seen as trying too hard. He tried being more collaborative. Giving credit. Building relationships. People liked him. They just didn't respect him. Because the visible rules, work hard, speak up, prove your value, they're real. But they're incomplete. They're what you're supposed to do. But they're not what actually changes how people see you. Here's the hidden rule he discovered. People don't take you seriously because of what you do. They take you seriously when you stop caring whether they do. It happened by accident. He'd spent years trying to prove himself. Years of working harder, speaking up, demonstrating competence. And it went nowhere. He was exhausted. Burned out. Tired of fighting for respect that never came. So he stopped fighting for it. Not dramatically. He didn't quit or become defiant. He just stopped performing. Stopped over-explaining his ideas. Stopped trying to convince people he was capable. Stopped volunteering for every opportunity to prove himself. He started saying no to things that didn't serve him. Started speaking only when he actually had something to say, not just to be heard. Started treating his expertise as a given rather than something he needed to constantly demonstrate. He stopped needing their validation. And that's when they started giving it to him. In his next meeting, he shared an idea. Briefly. Without the usual preamble of credentials or justifications. Just the idea. And people listened. Not politely. Actually listened. Someone asked a follow-up question. Not to challenge him. To understand better. His manager asked his opinion on something. Not as a formality. Because they actually wanted to know what he thought. Nothing about his competence had changed. Nothing about the quality of his work. But everything about how people responded to him had shifted. Because he'd stopped broadcasting need. And need, it turns out, is what destroys credibility. When you need people to take you seriously, they can feel it. Not consciously. But they sense it. The slight desperation in your tone. The over-justification of your ideas. The need to prove you belong in the room. It reads as insecurity. And people don't respect insecurity, even when it's paired with competence. But when you show up without needing anything from them, when you speak with the quiet assumption that your perspective has value, whether they recognize it or not, that reads as confidence. And confidence, even without credentials, commands more respect than competence ever will. There's a deeper layer to this rule that makes it even more brutal. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself is the moment people assume you've already proven yourself elsewhere. This is the psychology of social proof in reverse. When you're desperate for recognition, people assume you haven't earned it yet. When you're indifferent to recognition, people assume you've already gotten it somewhere more important. He noticed this at a conference. Two people gave presentations on similar topics. The first person started with their credentials, where they studied, who they'd worked with, why they were qualified to speak on this subject. The audience listened politely but skeptically. Every claim was met with internal questions. Are they really that experienced? Are they overstating their expertise? The second person started with the content. No preamble, no credentials. Just dove in like they assumed everyone already knew who they were. The audience leaned in immediately, because the absence of self-justification implied there was nothing to justify. If you don't feel the need to prove you're credible, people assume your credibility is already established. It's a perception loop. The more you need respect, the less you get. The less you need it, the more freely it flows to you. This is why people who've made it often seem to get even more opportunities. Not because they're more talented, but because they've stopped auditioning for approval. They show up assuming they belong. And that assumption becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The punishment for not knowing this rule is subtle but devastating. You can spend years, decades even, working harder than everyone around you and still not be taken seriously. Not because you're not good enough, but because you're trying too hard to prove you are. He watched it happen to others. Brilliant people who never got the recognition they deserved. Not because they lacked competence, but because they reeked of need. The colleague who prefaced every comment with "I might be wrong, but..." The team member who apologized before sharing ideas. The expert who constantly cited sources to prove they knew what they were talking about. All competent, all capable, all signaling, in 1,000 tiny ways, that they needed you to validate them. And validation given to someone who needs it doesn't feel like respect. It feels like charity. People started avoiding their ideas not because the ideas were bad, but because engaging with them meant managing someone else's need for approval. It's exhausting. So people stop engaging. They stop inviting you to important meetings. Stop asking for your input. Stop seeing you as someone whose perspective matters. Not because you don't have value, but because you've made your value conditional on their recognition of it. And nobody wants that responsibility. He started testing this principle systematically. In meetings, he stopped prefacing his ideas with justifications. No more "I was thinking," or "this might not work, but," or "I could be wrong." Just the idea. Clean. Direct. We should do X. Not "what if we considered X?" Not "has anyone thought about X?" Just a statement. As if it was already obvious. People started treating it like it was obvious. When someone challenged him, he stopped defending himself with data and credentials. He'd just say, "I see it differently," and move on. No need to convince them. No need to prove he was right. Just a simple acknowledgement of disagreement, delivered with the quiet confidence that his perspective was valuable whether they agreed or not. The challenges stopped. Because people don't challenge those who don't care about being challenged. They challenge people who need to win the argument. He stopped volunteering for things to prove himself. Stopped saying yes to every opportunity to demonstrate his value. Started saying no without lengthy explanations. "That doesn't work for me." Not "I'm sorry, I'm too busy," or "I'd love to but I can't." Just a simple boundary, stated as fact. And people started respecting his time more. Because time you guard carefully is perceived as more valuable than time you give away freely. Within months, everything had changed. Same job, same competence, same ideas, but completely different reception. He was invited to meetings he used to have to ask to attend. His opinions were sought out rather than offered and ignored. Projects were adjusted based on his input. Not because he'd gotten better at his work, but because he'd stopped needing people to recognize that he was good at it. This rule, this invisible law that respect flows to those who don't need it, shapes every hierarchy you've ever been part of. There are two types of people in every room. Those who are trying to prove they belong, and those who assume they already do. Look around your workplace, your social circles, your industry. You know them both. The people who are always working to be taken seriously, over-explaining, over-qualifying, constantly demonstrating their value. They might be brilliant. They might work harder than anyone, but they're always auditioning, and audiences can sense when someone's auditioning. Then there are the others, the ones who speak less but carry more weight when they do, who don't defend their ideas because they don't feel defensive about them, who set boundaries without apology, who assume their expertise rather than proving it. They're not necessarily more competent. They're just not broadcasting need. And in the absence of need, people project competence. We live in a culture that tells you to prove yourself constantly. Build your personal brand. Share your wins. Make sure people know what you've accomplished. Post about your achievements. Talk about your credentials. Make your value visible. And there's some truth to that. Invisibility doesn't serve you either. But there's a threshold, a point where demonstrating value becomes performing it, where sharing your expertise becomes begging people to recognize it, where confidence becomes compensating for insecurity. And the moment you cross that threshold, you lose the thing you're trying to gain. The people who get taken seriously aren't the ones shouting about their accomplishments. They're the ones quietly assuming their value is already understood. It's a paradox. To be taken seriously, you have to stop caring whether you are. To earn respect, you have to stop needing it. To prove your worth, you have to stop proving it. This is why some people seem to glide through life being taken seriously while others work twice as hard and get half the recognition. It's not about merit. It's about need. The less you need validation, the more you receive it. The less you need respect, the more freely it's given. The less you need to prove yourself, the more people assume you've already proven yourself somewhere that matters. Here's what he learned. You can't earn respect by trying to earn it. You can only create the conditions where respect flows naturally. And those conditions are simple. Assume you belong. Trust your expertise. State your perspective without needing it to be validated. Set boundaries without explaining them. Show up like someone who's already been taken seriously elsewhere. Because once you stop performing value and start embodying it, once you stop needing people to see you and start letting them discover you, once you stop auditioning and start assuming, that's when everything changes. Not because you've become more competent, but because you've stopped signaling that you need them to tell you that you are. And in a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, valued, recognized, the person who doesn't need any of that stands out. Not by trying to, but by not trying at all. The rule nobody tells you is this: respect isn't earned through demonstration. It's granted through assumption. And the moment you assume you're worth taking seriously, without needing anyone to confirm it, is the moment everyone else starts assuming it too.